Elemental Shift is my journey to find the ideal textile. Conceptualized about 2 years ago, it is a bridge between Studio Moda India's philanthropic endeavor and my creative expression. A bridge between the rural artisans and the urban mindset. It is my personal search for a greater meaning through the medium of fashion. The objectives of this initiative are to challenge the conventional construction techniques, explore new materials, explore the frame, the epitome of all forms, the human body, and perceive fashion as an elite form of design and not a fleeting consumer desire. Also hoping to start a conversation with the current fashion system. West Bengal is a huge storehouse of culture and creativity where numerous talented artisans work very hard to find outlets for their talent in the mainstream. Attempting something like this for the first time, it was but natural to approach these artisans. I was looking for something plant-based and a material that is rarely used in the fashion industry. These being intentionally unwearable, discarding them is inevitable, and when that happens, I wanted to ensure that the environment is not harmed in any way. Sheetal patti is an allegory for the ideal textile. While I was on the lookout for the appropriate material to work with, Social Venture Partners Kolkata introduced me to Ms. Payal Nath from Kadamhat, and we decided to go ahead with their Dhaulabadi cluster at Cooch Behar, where 16 women were involved in weaving Sheetal patti products.
And when Devina approached and she said, she'd like to do an experiment in fashion, I was a little amused because for me it was more about combining process technology, into craft. We never sort of thought of having for the future fashion and how do we integrate in the current times. So I think it was beautiful when she said this. There was a lot of excitement. Our team is attuned to new challenge, new experiments, which is very exciting. And I think that even our artisans, they just like Kadam, like the entire team of our NGO, they're also always excited about experimenting new things because they know that any experiment that happens is going to be for their good, and it has helped them earlier as well.
My first challenge was to communicate my patterns to them. So I used old newspapers to draft patterns which were couriered to them by the Kadamhat office in Kolkata. I started out creating the basic bodice to understand the behavior of this material when placed over a 3D human form. The next part was making the artisans understand curves and different edge finishes. Once the initial samples were created, I decided to send them a set of new drafted patterns where I was trying to understand the behavior of the material, Sheetal patti itself. I would finalize a set of patterns, communicate it to the craftsman, which then took on an average 40 to 50 days to create and come back to me. The world came to a standstill because of the pandemic. Communication became difficult. To keep the artisans engaged, I told them to create a panel out of all their waste pattis. The output was a striking, colorful piece of art. It was also around this time that I spoke to Ms. Richa Agarwal, the founder and chairperson at Kolkata Center for Creativity, our venue partners, about the idea of elemental shift and its intention. From that point on, she has been very encouraging and their team has been instrumental in bringing the whole concept forward.
Devina first discussed this idea with me about 2 years back, and she was so excited and so passionate about the whole idea of bringing Sheetal patti and a whole new community, a whole new language put together to define art, to talk about art. In my mind, it was almost defining a new technology and completely unexplored and very, very interesting. It was but natural for me to be inquisitive and keep asking her what was happening, and it was amazing the way her ideas were taking shape and taking the form of reality.
My concluding piece, where I've introduced cotton pattis in the weave, is my attempt at exploring new possibilities with the sheetal patti material and the fashion future as well. This has even ignited a conversation around the current fashion system, which the Space at 9x2 team has beautifully conveyed through their exhibit design.
When Devina approached us to work on Elemental Shift, she spoke to us about something that she had created out of a lot of love and passion. Within the design of the space, we created pillars that actually represent the pillars of fashion as a system, ranging from geography, innovation, the intent of creating fashion, and obviously the stakeholders within the system. Rather than giving a very conclusive idea, we wanted to leave the viewer with a lot of thoughts and questions about what is the future of fashion, what is the materiality of tomorrow, what does the system of fashion look like tomorrow.
What started out as a social cause metamorphosized over these 2 years into an expression of my personal creative growth and a conversation starter. We have started looking at fashion as a complete process and not just an end product, and aim at evolving into a more conscious industry. Questioning the ecological and social impact of our action is important. We must consider fashion as an investment, keeping in mind the repercussions of the future of the product itself. Studio Moda India Hope is an initiative that works towards fulfilling my responsibility as a designer, the need to give back, hoping to encourage and uplift the lives of craftsmen that we may encounter along our journey.